Series Vanoli, but Chuck Molla, our friend, couldn't come. I don't know, maybe the storm took him away or something, but I'll have to present. I worked on this project for at the beginning, but I have all the information, so I can tell you about it. Basically, it's called Multimedia Activism Platform, and the idea behind it is enabling young people, young citizen journalists, to report on issues that you don't see on mainstream media. So we wanted to capacitate these young people. That was the idea, to report on different kinds of reporting, using different kinds of reporting techniques, including writing articles, doing podcasts, and doing video reports. The way we wanted to go about it is doing it in a very in the most independent way we could. So in thinking and strategizing how to achieve that, how to bring these young citizen journalists together, or how to transform, to take a group of young people and transform them into active, proactive reporters. We said, okay, Albanians love competition, so we're just gonna open a competition. We're gonna have them apply, and if they want to become reporters, they will have to go through a training period. They will have to do actual reporting on different issues, and then there will be a prize at the end. So we had a lot of applications actually, and this was the first time that we did this project. So we were kind of learning during the process. We had a lot of applications. We had trainings on 3 different components with renowned Albanian journalists on writing in blogs, how to open a blog, how to write the writing techniques, and then podcasts and video reporting also, using camera techniques, how to interview people, how to do a stand-up, all those things. And then at the end of their training, we asked the students that were the young people that were participating were only going to graduate if they did a piece of each field that they were specializing in. So there were people doing reports, video reports, podcasts, and articles. So at the end, we had a few articles. You can see them here. These are all articles that. And the good thing is that a lot of them were very, very interested in this idea. Even after the competition or the project sort of ended with a winner. They wanted to continue, contributing. Some of them wanted to continue contributing to the website. So they kept writing. You see, the last one was on 7th of March, so only a week ago. They continue contributing, and they have followers. This website is synchronized with Twitter and Facebook. And the issues that they cover are mostly youth-related, students, student card, the problems at the university dorms, this kind of things, or the other main thing that we've been trying to push them to cover is policy. What kind of policy related to youth is being followed by local and central government institutions. So they go to the municipality of Tirana, to the meetings of the councilors of the municipality of Tirana, They follow the parliament to see if there are any youth-related laws being discussed. They go to the Ministry of Youth, Culture and Sports, and they follow, they track that and they monitor that, and they report on it here. Now it's not perfect because we just started last year, but we're improving a hell of a lot especially on training them, and next year it will be better. So we have so far around 50 articles. We have around 10, I think, podcasts, 8 videos, and all of our trainings were actually done in what you see here is a warehouse. So we also try to take them out of the box and into the non-conventional kind of training facility. The training in itself was unconventional because it involved the students a lot. So basically, this is a MAP, or multimedia activism platform. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to.
So how you select them, if you can elaborate on that? So is it the open announcement, or like a competition from the beginning, or whoever is interested can participate? So how?
There was as you can see here, a competition. We had an application form, so they had to send an application form where we saw what their interest was. We selected people who were interested in learning journalist techniques. We wanted to see their willingness to report and to report on youth issues. This project is centered around youth issues. So these were the general criteria. There was a longer, application form, and there were interviews, in-person interviews, with all of them. But this is what we were looking for, basically.
From Georgia. I'm interested in that. Do you do follow-up? Let's say how the problems which we are reported on the website we addressed, or no, and how you measure like whether the website successful, the relevant people are reading it, and some problems are solved.
I mean, this is brand new. The graduates have started, posting on the website starting from 6-7 months ago. So it's fairly new to monitor, what has happened, if there was progress in that respect. But we intend to do that. That's for sure. All the Georgians.
Yeah, Mariana from International Georgia. I'm curious, now that your graduates graduated, actually, they said that they are still very interested in writing pieces and making videos. What is your role now that in the way those graduates graduate? Do you review the articles, or you automatically upload? You don't have any say in what they actually report, or is your policy, because depends, sometimes they could report, do you in a way verify what is written is genuine or something? Are you editing it?
Yes, we have Jeff Molnar, who was supposed to be here, is in many ways a chief editor of this news portal. So he's a journalist by profession. So and he's been an activist with Miaftin for a long time. So what he does is he checks for sources, and he does the journalist background check, to see if the stories are accurate. Because, as I said, these are all it's reporting basically. There is interviewing, usually, almost always, they go and interview people, recording the interviews. So it's and in terms of editing, we don't have an editorial board or an editorial policy where we cut and we say no, you can't cover this or that. They just need to be youth issues. All right. I think that's it. If you guys don't have any more questions, I can pass the floor to Donna from YEF.
You're going to be a little bit patient with me because I have to first figure out where the USB goes and then open the presentation and other things. But since I didn't manage to get acquainted with most of the people here so far, which I hope to do later on, my name is Tirana Activism, coming from Macedonia, coming from do I not scan the USB now? No, we're living on the edge here. So I might have played something needless. Coming from Macedonia and coming from a youth-led organization, I'm going to briefly go about what we do and why we do it and how we exist and how we function. The motion I was told we are going to talk about today was, specifically 2 case studies. One is Radio MOF, an independent online youth radio station / web portal, and the second one is Engage, a specific activity we've been doing for 2 years now. It's not as tightly related to accountability, promoting transparency in institutions, conducting monitoring. We do have activities that are more closely oriented to it, but due to the nature of these things, we decided to talk about that. Now, just a little bit of context before we start. Macedonia is a 2 million people country, so nothing too big. What's important, though, is that 1/4 of those 2 million are young people. So over 480,000 of the population is youth, and when you have such a big percentage of youth in a country, you say, this is an important category here. No. For instance, on the level of participation, there's almost zero high school organizing, and the university student organizing is monopolized by parties and individuals. There's almost no local youth organizing and participation, and there is no single way and mechanism at the time for national youth organizing, let alone participation in decision-making and policy development. Then again, you'd say maybe you don't have problems, which is not true, because if you have a country with the astonishing rate of unemployment around 30%, youth has an unemployment rate of 60%, which is downright outrageous. And you'd say it's a civil society passive country, but it isn't, because there's a lot of civil society organizations registered. However, almost 85% of them have under 1,000 euros annual budget, which means they're not really highly active. And youth CSOs are a completely uncharted territory. So we don't know how many there are, we don't know how they do work. And essentially I was just trying to give this context because although the situation doesn't seem really promising and there's lack of participation and young people face problems, on the other hand, there's running away from the traditional forms of organizing and practicing some alternative mechanisms that we are trying to make more visible to the public. Specifically, the organization I come from, and not just me, but my colleague Antonio there, is called Youth Educational Forum. We've been around for 14 years almost. It's a youth-led, youth-established, youth-managed organization with around 30 people in the staff and whatnot. And we have over 50 clubs in 12 centers in 13 cities of the country. We work nationally. Our mission is to position youth as a relevant social factor, promoting the internal and external integration of the country. And what we do, generally, is we work through 3 program areas. We work non-formal education, we work in universities, in high schools, but also outside of them in youth centers, where the 2 priority curriculums we practice: debate, which is a 3-year-long curriculum. To become a debater or a debate trainer, you have to be in that role for 3 years. Street law, which is a 2-year-long program. Both aim to promote critical thinking, critical opinions, culture of dialogue, understanding of rights, rule of law, transparency, a lot of notions for the young people themselves who are socially excluded. According to research, every 4th person in Macedonia, a young person, is a self-declared socially excluded young person, and over 80% believe they have no power to change anything or have very little power to change something. The second program we have, and that's Tony's program, is Research Analysis in Youth and Education Policy Making. In a country where there's lack of quality when you prepare strategic documents, lack of open consultation processes, we have strategies that have run its course and never had a single action plan prepared. Where we have challenges in having monitoring and evaluation, we also face the challenge of lack of data. So what we do is research and we provide data, particularly on youth and education topics, where none exist to assist the policy development processes. And lastly, we have a program called Youth Activism, which is not something you can really dictate on how it's happening. But what we do is we support youth clusters and young people from various cities and communities to exercise their democratic and civil rights. So the first case I'm talking about is Radio Yaf. What we know is that youth are excluded. They're a marginalized group in the country. Youth voices are rarely shown on traditional media. This is not corresponding, however, with what youth does in the society. So we have youth activities, but no one conveys them. What we did was, noticing this, started a completely new medium. That was 2 years ago almost, a little over that, which was available in the free internet space, used by youth every day for sharing information, personal and group standpoints. So when there's no one to convey what the activists think, we try to fill in that gap. What you need to know is that we do not have a single person, well, we have maybe 1 or 2 people in the organization that are by vocation ICT-oriented people or engineers or journalists. Most of us are, I don't know, economists and lawyers and whatnot, but here we are trying to set up a youth medium. So we say, sure, we can do this is an ambitious plan, but we'll consult people, we'll figure it out. No one in Macedonia really had the full knowledge of how to establish, run, equip, and host the radio. Like, no one was able to help us with the technical details. And we'd run around asking people on tips and advices. You'd be amazed how many activists there are in the world that are willing to spend their time and tell you how to do something. And we started the radio with the mission to be an alternative online media which produces independent, objective program content, which is mostly made by young people, and by that to offer quality, diversity, and significantly ethics in youth informing and development discussions. Basically, in the end, we ended up with a radio station that was in our basement. Now we've moved, so it's kind of bigger. But it's something that's on 24/7. There's a bunch of shows that are produced. There's 5 civil society organizations that host their own shows on the radio. We have a team of young people and professional journalists now, which try to cover these stories and open new topics that are most frequently neglected. And we force public figures to talk about youth. So maybe these people don't mean much to you, but it's an ex-US ambassador, it's a really popular person who's one of the key figures in establishing the blogosphere in Macedonia. It's journalists and whatnot, and what we do is we pinpoint them down for an interview, and then we ask them for opinions on youth and on activism, and make them discuss these topics, which no one else does. Another thing that makes it beautiful is that the radio doesn't have a content that goes away once the show's over. We upload everything online, making it re-listenable, or that would be a word, for other people that want to catch up with what's done later. So we're using Mixcloud and SoundCloud, whatever's cheaper for various things, to upload all of the content created by youth and have it available. And we've started doing a lot of events, which is interesting because when you connect activism with music and with fun and with culture, a lot more people are interested in it. So, like, this is a concert we did in the city park, and one of the things that was happening was collecting signatures for a petition for a commission to be established in the Balkan countries that does determine the facts for war crimes in order to have reconciliation. And a lot of signatures were gathered thanks to the event. We support online communities, no matter how small they are. Like, we did the SoundCloud Meetup Day, which we discovered has some online community in Macedonia. Very small, but then again, the buzz that was created afterwards makes it a noteworthy event we can do in the future. And we also support other groups, other NGOs with their events. We do audio and video streamings on their events, and whether they're making a protest out in the street or a specific debate on public funds spending on certain projects, we're there to convey it and make it accessible to everyone afterwards. And another thing we started doing was a social media and activism conference called Engage. Now there's several annual conferences in Macedonia that are ITR oriented, but to my opinion there was not a single one which was so tightly connected with activism and how to use social media as an activist. But as I said, there are a lot of movements, so we wanted to showcase them, and we did a one-day conference, which was the first of its kind, which hosted around 20-something speakers, lasted around 10-something hours. The idea was to bring in the good stories, to bring in the good cases, to bring in the case studies and present them in really presentations, open discussions with the audience, and promote networking. When the event was over, we received a lot of emails from young people, from activists, from NGOs and whatnot, saying, oh, you should have invited these people, they're doing such a brilliant project on that and that, or, well, maybe you shouldn't leave out Wikimedia next time, or, you guys want an infographic, because we can do that for you. And there was a lot of community connections being built. And 1 month later, you have people saying, oh, like, you know, we need an expert on USAID platforms, because we're really want to start a public spending monitoring website, but we don't know how to install this and that, and you try and bridge people together. So it turned to some sort of incubator of initiatives, and this is 2 weeks ago when we did the second edition, so a little bit more on Engage. The conference itself aims to raise the level of awareness among citizens, their presence and active participation in the sphere of social media, and also not just social media, but physical space. Because, you know, as Newton said, every action has a reaction. Every online action should have an offline reaction, and that is what we aspire to do, to make movements, initiatives, and ideas more visible, and to inspire other people to practice these things. So it's not just your everyday conference. We pick and find the good examples. This year, like do you know what crowdsourcing is? Remember what the website was showed a while ago with Fix My School? That's crowdsourcing, when users contribute with their own content and you in the end have something valuable out of it. In Macedonia, crowdsourcing has become a little bit of a trend. We have Report Corruption, which is done by the TI chapter. It's a great initiative, and what they're doing is reporting corruption and then following up on the cases. We have Report Verbal or Physical Abuse Towards Women, which is also a platform of the kind. We have several USAID platforms, election monitoring, and so on. And we said, okay, there's obviously a donor liking towards these platforms, and there's also a lot of interest with the civil society sector, but to what end, and does this work? So we sat all these people that work on crowdsourcing together in a panel and made them talk about it and see what are the successful cases and what are the not so successful cases. We brought a lot of people that have worked on initiatives from the region that ended up being very inspirational for Macedonian activists. And what was most amazing for me was that in a country where freedom of expression might be slightly debatable, to say the least, when people weigh their sentences very carefully before they say something in public, this event ended up being a place where people were talking completely freely on everything they perceived. In brief, just to get a hint of how that looks, I hope 2 minutes of a video, one of something, is not too long. So, yeah, this would be Engage. Not the sound, then the internet.
Can you just put the mic close to the...
No, it's not the mic now, it's the internet. No. I'll load it later on from YouTube. Anyways, what we do is, like, there's somewhat of resistance toward and getting involved in something that's sometimes considered political, dangerous, maybe contradicting to some institution and whatnot, and people fear approaching these things. But if you make it in a very laid back, in a very educational way, they are more encouraged to do it. So that was last year's Engage, the pink one. This year was Cyan Color, where basically you tried to give a lot of fun throughout the entire event and organize parties as well as creative things and whatnot, but you mix it up with a lot of education and you end up with something like this. This year, on Engage, we ended up with 26 speakers, showcasing brilliant examples of activities they've done and analyzing them. 400 people that endured sitting in the hall for 8 hours, but of course we do everything online, so it ended up being far more. The discussions were opened to a total about, well, we had like over 3,300 unique Twitter tweets on the topic. 2,000 more mentions in those, and around 1,200 retweets on the whole story, which is quite a lot of buzz to create in such a small online community as Macedonia. Meaning it was, this is just followed for those several days when Engage was happening, not afterwards, although the discussion continued to happen and people started commenting on initiatives and activities and institutions and asking questions and pinging everything they could. On the event itself, for instance, we had a brilliant case study about a Montenegrin, was it a Montenegrin project? Anyways, the basic idea was, oh no, it wasn't about that. It was a panel on satire as a way of political acting and communicating with institutions. And someone said to the speakers, okay, when are the institutions responsive? Incidentally, there was an institution representative in the audience, which got handed a microphone and had to answer a lot of questions there. What was fun was that after the event was over, the discussion continued, and the institution was pinged by a lot of people, and they had to reply because the connection had been established. This is how the Twitter intensity looked like, but not to go into the details. Of course, you give credits to the most active Twitter users for the day. This is the Facebook thing. Like, if we look at impressions, it's going to be an outrageous number, like 5-6 digits, I don't know. But this is only the engagement with the Facebook accounts which shared content for Engage till the day it happened. Meaning over almost 7,000 people had shared or commented on content posted online, which is not that little. Of course, the online community jumps in here and says, oh guys, this event is lovely, would you like an app for that? And you end up with an Android application, which is downloaded by everyone who has time to download it for the day, but it's still, you know, you're trying to expand in every way you can do it. It's an event about online and offline activism, but you stream the event, you encourage a Twitter discussion from months in advance, you present who the speakers are, you prepare applications, you upload every single video and presentation that gets on your hands, and you have something more than a one-time event and a project well done. You have something with impact afterwards. I mean, around 20,000 people had visited content on projects and case studies that was uploaded on the web, and this is essentially what the summary of other things looks like. We had 1,800 people that ended up following the video stream for the event. We had 0 Harlem Shakes. And anyways, briefly, just to, yeah, so I've heard. Just to summarize, I'll play the video if anyone's interested about how Engage looks like. If not, you'll be spared from our improvisations. But to get back on the website, and that is what the online medium has ended up being. As I said, it's amateur team, and there's a lot of activists from different cities, young people that contribute with content. And this is just from the last 2 weeks, I think. There's around 10-something publications per day. And this is what's been published, ouch, for the last week. So most of these won't open, but in brief. There was a problem with paying scholarships to university students. The ministry was late for several months. Traditional media has a problem figuring out how social media works, but we don't. So you discover that young people are complaining about it, and you immediately run in with a story, and you immediately call the Ministry of Education, and they have to give you a comment, and it kind of results with the scholarships will be paid in the next 2 months. Because you ping them noticing an online movement, thanks to a medium, because if you're an organization, they usually hang up. But if you say, hey, we're calling for a statement here, and if you don't say anything back, we'll just say you didn't want to talk to us, they're kind of more responsive. This link, when I can't click, is a debate started when the student ombudsman posted a picture of a political rally on her Facebook profile. You're a student ombudsman, which is a non-partisan position. Posting pictures on political rallies is not quite ethical, and that sparked a really, really big discussion asking for accountability in her position. This one is we have a lot of sculptures in the city. Some of you may know, some of you may not. It's a really big thing. And anyways, some of those get relocated, and there was one sculpture which is, you know, bought with public funds and whatnot, and they decided it was in the right place and whatnot, so they put it on a different location, but they didn't really put it, they just left it lying on the side. I don't know if you've heard the expression about a fish on dry. Essentially, this is the poor thing. For months, this is public money lying on the lawn in front of a building in the city center. Anyways, two activists went on, did a story on it. Somehow, the same day, this sculpture was moved with declared position to be placed in the future. Yeah, and they do other things. They call for accountability on municipalities and public hygiene and protection of the environment, because, you know, you end up with rivers looking something like this. And these are all young people. None of these people are journalists. These are just driven activists that now have a medium to share their stories, and nobody needs to encourage them. They're just going to come up to you and say. And for instance, we had many laws being changed in 2 months in assembly procedure, which was a sped-up assembly procedure. So many of the media somehow neglected to say that the law on higher education as well as the law on student standard were under debate. So we were the ones that discovered it and went public with it, and afterwards everyone felt, of course, the need to just give a statement on their proposed changes. But if no one would have opened that topic, I don't know if anyone would have had a statement in the back. And lastly, when you have a country where people fear to speak their minds so openly, one thing that we discovered that works is satire and humor. Meaning, I don't know, who here knows what an onion muse is? Okay. For those of you that don't, onion muse are satirical news, which sound real but are fake. Such as, yeah, they look real but they're fake. Such as the very famous one, a Serbian killed a shark by jumping in Tel Aviv in the water. Then it's a fake news, but some media will just run without checking the sources and the credibility and run with it. And we discovered that's a good way to be active and to declare, ask for something. So this is a call for multimedia solutions, on a call for student organizing. Instead of Alice in Wonderland, you have the Students in Wonderland, student pulp fiction, or Lord of the Students. And then you have the Onion News call, which is, you know, the Shakespeare statement, something is rotten in the kingdom of Denmark. Well, something is pink in the youthhood is pink in the kingdom of Macedonia. And that resulted to very critical content submitted by students that I don't know if this will play, but it's a mockery of the rector of St. Cyril and Methodius University buying a 64,000 euros Mercedes. And the news looks, the rector states that he is going to sell his Mercedes because he doesn't need it and will spend the money on investing in student dorm renovation, and just shows a lot of pictures from the student dorms. So giving the media tools out there, making an open media that's interested for any person's content, as well as encouraging critical thinking in alternative ways, such as onion news or parodies, and bringing activists together and encouraging them to network instead of doing one-time activities, can sometimes do the trick, when even it's indirectly. Yeah, this is the rector video, then you get engaged, and that's it. We decided that renovating the student dorms is more important than buying an official vehicle, a Mercedes E-Class. Yeah, this is how it looks like.
Final project design would look to show.
Yeah. So essentially that's it on that, and I guess engage is something you can Google yourselves, so we've spared the time for other people. Questions? Yeah.
Are Albanians involved in your organization? Do they? How is that involvement?
Of course. In a multicultural country where you have offices in 12 cities in the country, that's a very natural and encouraged thing to do. For instance, I'm still kind of saddened by the fact that not all of the content on the radio is published bilingually, or trilingually for that matter. But we're aiming towards that. However, yes, but we have like direct beneficiaries around 1,500, 600 per year, which are mostly youth coming from different cities. So basically it's as multicultural and integrated as it gets, which is also important on another aspect, and that is that public schools tend to have ethnically divided educational approaches. So it provides a much needed space for integration, which you wouldn't have in another case.
Sorry, in relation to that, my name is Amar. In relation to that question, do you have, like, for example, have you received any sort of videos or materials that sort of promote that type of inter-ethnical, intercultural dialogue?
Of course. Actually, like for instance, it's fun because these activism clusters sometimes end up being a role model on how multicultural societies should look like. For instance, the club in a city called Tetovo ended up submitting a video which was on an unrelated topic. It was on the fact that this city, which has quite a lot of people, does not have a cinema. People have no cultural things to engage in, and they even have a lack of cinema. And what they do is they record the video, and it's in 5 or 6 languages, I think, in the end. It's Albanian, Macedonian, Turkish, Roma, Serbian, and I really don't remember. But it showcases how things should look like. And these young people have been really proactive in other situations. Like sometimes there are occasions where there's a lot of youth violence, particularly in public schools and in public transport. And incidentally, like last February we had something like that. It resulted in we were having actually a debate training, which was focused on debate and training debaters. At the same time, the media was reporting a lot of cases on violence in school buses, and these young people that were there, like 18, 17, 19 years old, ended up saying, "Oh, we have a coffee break tomorrow." So I can't find this because I don't have Cyrillic support, but maybe the Albanian version will pop out. And they said, "Oh, we have a coffee break tomorrow. Let's just go and have a press conference about," no, I will not find it, about how none of the institutions whatsoever came out with affirmative action or pro-integration statement, because the Ministry of Interior says, "Oh, the people that have broken the laws will be found and prosecuted," and someone says, "We demand that no more violence happens," but no one says, "These are exceptions," or "This is not the way it's supposed to be." So these young people use their coffee break to actually do the first public press conference at a time of tension and ethnic friction, and spread that kind of message. So.
I have a question. Do you ever get problems with this? Because I was interested in this onion news type of. Do you ever get problems with the people being subject of those? But I mean, problems even in terms of I don't know, to be subject of prosecution in terms of.
Frequently you will get problems. In the Balkans, we face this thing that civil society is not seen as a potential partner of the institutions, but an enemy by default.
Right.
So you try and shake that off and say, "No, we're friends, we want to work with you. We're researching corruption for your own good," and it doesn't always work. There's cases, like sometimes you're going to send a little bit too many free access to information claims, and you're going to get a call saying, "You have students at our university," or "Would you please stop sending those requests," or "Can you please stop showing up at our school?" And you go and say, "Okay, how about we take some of your students and they can volunteer in university and we'll teach them how to answer free access to information, and then your administration will not be overburdened." So you come up with solutions. When we did the onion news, and I'm looking for it right now, but it's not showing up, we were really, really, really careful about what we say, how we say it, and who do we say it to. Yes, absolutely. You go over the law, all the laws, and you consult with all of the people you can, because lawsuits, and particularly on slander and insult, are a very, very common thing in Macedonian media space. So we did do a lot of consultations, and what we figured out is, because this is not content done by us, it's done by individuals. You see this black disgusting bar in the bottom? It says, "This is a para article which arrived on an applicant on the call for this and this and that." A para article is a made-up, untrue news which has an aim to laugh to make the audience laugh, and to reach social
So it's like a public disclaimer.
appearances.
Yeah,
It's a
public
disclaimer,
disclaimer.
a
Okay.
very big, large disclaimer, which was the first thing we needed to do. The
Okay.
second thing we needed to do was change all of the names. So if the minister is called Antonio Danilovski, I'm probably gonna write Dantonio Anilovski, and that way he can't sue me. So you do those kind of things. And in other countries, paranews are completely normal and you cannot get sued for them. In R, there is a chance you might, so we tried to play it on as safe as we could. If we'll do it in the future, we'll see, but for this one, we did it like that. Well, thank you for your time, if that is it. Thank you. Since we're waiting for a little bit, you're not going to be spared by me, and you're going to have to watch stuff. So there's been 2 engages. We'll go with the shorter video. You might see people you know. If I can find it. No.
It's a short one.
Well, this is the end for this for this kind of these panels on this room. I suppose the panels in the other room are still continuing. We are done for today. As far as the conference goes, we have not planned anything for later tonight. We don't know if it's even safe to go out there, you know, judging from the wind, the storm. Well, maybe the sun is out. Albania has very weird weather. So we are going to wait for the others to finish, and then we will convene and tell you what's going to happen. But otherwise, we are done in this conference room. We're finished.
Can you unplug me, please? Thank you a lot.
Guys, you have the agenda, the brochure. At the back of the cover, there's a map. So we are for sure going to be at Radio. It's one of the on the legend. Everybody, well, it's a bar basically. So we are going to be there, all of us. In case we don't organize a dinner.
After dinner, I mean, dinner is free for everybody, so I guess you can go around and have your dinner. And then after dinner, we are going to be at the radio bar, so you can have some drinks and some more official. I guess 10 p.m. it should be. We'll be there. We'll be there.
If they don't let you in, just say that you're friends with Aldo.
Oh, yeah.
Aldo is your friend, and they will let you in.
Don't order beer. Znaju ti, zna Microsoft napraviti njegove ti ove sve.
Ova tuka.
Ja to kažem, ovo nešto opet stvari što bježi, samo Microsoft.
We catch up later. Are you going to the hotel now?
We're gonna be here.
Okay. Yeah.
Popove, potvorici. Yeah, we can go to some place local already. Two drinks. Kakav si zajeban, ne? Ja primao da brata. Alda? Oj, evo. Reci. Alda. Nije Alda mu Alda. Jeste. Ovo si pričao. Jel to? Jel to? Jel li? Ubit će Aldo preko njega. Kroz njega. Ubit će Aldo kroz njega.
Karta.
Šta ima?
Djopke, evo šta?
Može tako da se nazove.
Ima dvojku, dioptriju, disleksiju. I dojenje. I doiga.
Ima...
Da li ste s ovim? Možeš vidjeti.
Jebač to niko.
Ovako stavim na rame i...
To brata, treba ti nošnik. Ipak, ne razumiju to ove nove generacije, nisi dovoljno edukovan.
Predili bi me duplo, prvo zato što je rodno izgledam kao gej.
Stede, mrtvac.
Ubi ga odmah.
Mrtvac.
Pa ti ne razumiju.